chosen to watch every episode of Buffy and tell you what they think about them. This is the Prose Bros Visit Sunnydale, Season 3. Prose Bros Season 3. Prose Bros. Prose Bros Season 3. Prose Bros.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the Prose Bros Visit Sunnydale. I am Jeff.
And I am Eddie Cruz.
And today we are doing Season 3, Episode 6, Band Candy.
Band Candy. The episode where they all take LSD through candy bars.
Kind of. It's weird. They're supposed to be teenagers, but they're like the worst kind of teenagers.
It doesn't really make you... It does more like what Red Kryptonite does to Superman to them. It doesn't so much make them just their version of teenagers, but it makes them... It takes away their inhibitions, right?
Yeah.
It makes them pretty shitty.
But inhibitions and just like you said, like the worst kind
Selfish.
of teenagers.
It's
It's
super
like,
selfish, yeah. Like a kid that just takes selfies all day.
Yeah, so I loved this episode.
I did too.
I know you do.
I love this episode. This is my favorite episode.
Wanna
And
just-
the references to it are also phenomenal.
Jokes.
Yeah.
Want to just jump right in?
Yeah, it opens up with Buffy and Giles at the cemetery, and they're speaking to each other in kind of a weird way. And you start thinking they're talking about vampires, but it turns out they're talking about the SAT and questions on the SAT. Buffy does that awesome thing we all do when we take tests, and she's like, it's B. It has to be B. There hasn't been a B in forever. And I was like, I can relate to that.
Yeah, that sounds so stupid, but I've looked at like Scantrons. Even though I filled out the test, I was like,
I don't know.
This looks wrong.
How did I have 7 C's in a row? You're like, that's impossible.
It's bullshit.
Yeah, this is crazy. I always wondered if the teachers were messing with you when they did that. Anyway, so they talk about the SAT, and they talk about the fact that, Buffy has a lot of responsibilities and whatnot again. And they cut to the mayor's office, and Trick is there, and the mayor is talking to him about a task that he wants Trick to take care of. Trick says, I got this, just a guy, and the mayor's like, oh, you think outsourcing this is the right way to go? And he's like, no, don't worry about it. This guy's been in this town before. And that's the only scene you get before you cut to the main title.
Yeah, I kind of did like that scene just when they're talking about it so casually and very businesslike. They're like, outsourcing, huh? Is that the way to go?
Yeah, especially when you find out what they're actually talking about. You're like, oh, that's really messed up. Like, what they're actually setting up is horrible. And they're just nonchalantly talking about it like a business deal.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah, we were talking about that. It was a weird intro.
It didn't have like a clear beginning and end. Usually that little vignette that they put in front of the title sequence it kind of self-contains itself or is self-encompassing.
Or there's like a joke, a little more action, something that's setting up a little more. And you said when we were watching
it does, a lot,
but it's just so vague. We don't really get much.
You get the fact that it's SAT week, but that's also reintroduced directly after the title sequence, so that's kind of redundant. And then you get the fact that whoever's coming to do this spell or whatever they're outsourcing has been there before, so it's a character we've already seen.
This is one of the first times that I've really noticed, I don't know about you, that the cut to the intro was weird, or the theme song, rather.
Yeah, it was
I've
a
never
little
really
bit
noticed.
strange, but I still liked it. I still liked it a lot. I thought it was a good intro.
Yeah.
It was fine.
For me, it's almost like they could have put the theme song at the beginning and then just played the episode. It didn't really add anything.
They could have totally done that. That would have worked fine.
Yeah.
So they're back at the school, and when they get back to the school, they essentially are talking about the SAT again, right? They're all a Scooby group. It's Cordelia and Oz. All the boyfriends and girlfriends are there. And Buffy is essentially telling them that she's really worried about it. And Oz is like, hey, I'm brilliant, and I have a trick for antonyms, which I didn't really understand.
Yeah, you don't.
Like, I understand what antonyms are, and I remember in the SAT it'd be like, what is an antonym of this word, or what is a synonym of this word? But there's no real trick you can do there, right? Except for the whole 2, you can always cross out 2 and then pick from the last one if you don't know what it is.
I guess it's just something that Oz can say that it's like, oh, he's really good at this, which Willow repeats several times shortly after.
She's like, I really love how good at this he is, but at the same time, she's playing footsies with Xander under the freaking table. It's so messed up. So when they get to the lunchroom, Snyder's waiting there with a bunch of candy, and he's handing it out to everybody in the school, and they're like, what the hell? Well, at first they're like, free candy. But then they're like, what the hell? What is this? And he's like, it's band candy. And Buffy's like, I'm not in the band. He's like, well, that'd be a problem if I was asking you to play the tuba. But I'm just asking you to sell candy.
Forcing
to raise
them.
money.
Yeah,
forcing them. Which is kind of crazy because I was in band and nobody ever helped us raise money.
Well, it's clearly for something else.
Right? Yeah.
But I have a question. Have we seen the Sunnydale band?
No. I
We've
think
seen football games? Was there a band there?
I mean, I didn't notice. I didn't really look for it, though.
Me neither.
I think I've seen somebody with a tuba or something, I feel like. But I don't really remember anything having to do with band.
I like how they're all just like, okay, yeah, we're selling candy now because Snyder's making us.
Yeah.
I guess they shouldn't expect anything weird from Snyder. I mean, do you think that they should have known something's up, or is this something that typical Snyder making them do something for the school they don't want to as some sort of like punishment, or he's getting off by forcing them to do shit?
Well, he's definitely always an asshole to them, right? So I just think that they're just like, oh, this is just Snyder being a dickhead.
Yeah.
Kind of plain as that goes, you know?
Yeah. I think so.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess when it really comes down to it, he eats the candy too, so he's not really a part of this nefarious plot at all. You know, he's just kind of...
Well, why would anybody
oblivious.
tell him anything? He just seems, he's a lackey.
Yeah, he's totally just a bitch. So Buffy gets home and essentially tries to sell all of the candy at once to her mom, the way that we all do. Did you ever do that? That's what I ended up doing with my band candy.
No, a lot of times with stuff like this, I just didn't participate, and teachers or band teachers would just get mad at me.
Yeah, there you go.
I just didn't do it.
Like, you didn't do it. And I'm like, nope.
Yeah.
I remember when they'd start being like, you're responsible for like this much candy. You essentially already bought it.
Yeah, that was shitty.
That was always shitty. And you're like, what the hell? Like,
I would just complain to my mom. I'd be like, that's not fair. And then she would usually get me out of it.
nice.
So,
Well, I would sell stuff and my parents would buy like a lot of them. So, so I relate to this. So Buffy's essentially asking her mom about driving and talking to her about school, and Giles taking up too much of her time at school and for the slang stuff. And essentially it comes down to Buffy's taken the driving test twice now and failed miserably.
I guess she doesn't have a lot of practice.
Yeah, maybe no practice, or maybe she's just a really just awful driver.
As evident in the show later on.
Yeah.
I thought this was fucked up on Joyce. It seems like she doesn't seem like she's being protective. It seems like she's throwing the fact that Buffy ran away in her face.
Yeah, that, and also she's like really, really kind of jealous of her and Giles' relationship. It feels like more and more.
See, that makes sense to me because she shares more with Giles.
Yeah, she does. And Giles has known the truth about her longer than she has. Yeah, that makes sense. But at the same time, it comes off a little catty. I don't know. It seems a little weird. So she leaves and she's essentially told no driving ever. She goes to Giles' house. So she tells her mom, well, I'm going to be studying with Giles for the rest of the night, right? Goes to Giles' house, and he ends up letting you know that he bought the rest of the candy and puts a bandage around her eyes, or just a bandana around her eyes, and throws a ball at her.
It's like at first I thought it was a medicine ball.
Or she throws a ball at him.
But I guess it would just be like a dodgeball, right?
Yeah, just like a dodgeball. And she hits him in the head, even though he walks around, and she bounces it off a wall and still hits him in the head.
It's kind of a stupid training session.
It was a pretty bad training session. I would say that was a bad training session for even somebody who's playing dodgeball. Like somebody who's preparing for a dodgeball game, that's not a very good training session for them either.
It's like, hone your skills, I'm going to blindfold you. And I don't know. It seemed pretty stupid. Like Giles ran out of training ideas for the week.
Yeah, exactly. So then she ends up telling him, I got to go. I'm going to go meet up with Willow. We have a study session there. And he's like, what? And then you're like, kind of, oh, well, she just told her mom she was going to be with Giles. She told Giles she's going to be with Willow. And obviously she's going to go see Angel.
Yes.
So
which nobody knows.
Nobody knows he's alive yet. Nobody knows that she's been seeing him. You'd assume that they would all be upset at the fact that she's been seeing him.
Yeah.
Because he killed so many people in the very short time that he was Angel Lewis. And indirectly killed even more, if you think about it. So when she gets to the, I guess, dark mansion with no ceiling?
Evil cemetery party mansion. I made it a party mansion. So really
Evil cemetery party mansion.
I'd love to see.
Angel is shirtless, doing what I guess can be described as a form of Tai Chi.
I would love to read the script, and it's just interior. Evil party mansion. Shirtless angel does Tai Chi. Yeah. Better? I think we're going to ask each other the same question. You go.
I'm just asking, do you think David Boreanaz actually took a Tai Chi class? Because that just felt like if you asked me, hey, Eddie, pretend to do Tai Chi, I would have done that.
I'm sure somebody gave him some direction.
It feels like that was just kind of done off the top of his head.
Now, do you think he does that or did that better than Iron Fist?
Yeah.
It was more believable?
It was more believable, yeah. That Iron Fist was awful.
I think Angel is a better actor, or David Boreanaz is a better actor than the actor who plays Iron Fist.
Yeah, I would agree. That's sad.
That's rough.
That's really sad, especially after watching The Crow, Wicked Prayer. Oh my goodness!
But you like watching that?
Oh
it's
yeah,
one of your favorite.
It's one of my favorite
movies.
bad movies, but it's like a really bad movie. It's like the way you like watching The Room, or somebody would like watching The Room. Nobody says like, "Oh, I love Tommy Wiseau's acting." It's just kind of like that movie's fucking hilarious because of Tommy Wiseau's acting.
Maybe I should give. What was it? The Crow.
The Crow, Wicked Prayer.
Wicked Prayer. Maybe I should give
Edward
that a shot.
Furlong, Tara Reid, and David Boreanaz.
Fuck, dude.
And Edward Furlong and David Boreanaz are cholos. I'm not even making that shit up.
I know. It's funny.
It's fucking awesome. It's fucking incredible, dude. With like, I don't know. You could say like they had a budget of like, I don't know. What do you have in your bank account? No, don't answer that, but that's about what they had probably.
So shirtless angel, Tai Chi.
Yeah. So she gets there and she's all like, ooh, shirtless angel doing Tai Chi, and just incredibly gets turned on, I guess.
How are his pecs in this episode? Still lacking?
They look better with a wife beater on.
Okay.
Yeah, when you can't see him fully, they look better. Buffy takes him blood. He looks at it like, oh, blood, thank God, I wanted blood. And they just essentially talk. He brings up Scott. He's like, how's Scott doing? And she's like, who? And she's like, oh, yeah, my boyfriend. Yeah, he's good. And then you can tell that they're having an awkward time talking, right?
Yeah.
They're not doing too well.
To me, they're kind of dancing around everything that happened. Angel is sick or hurt, whatever you want to call it. She's nursing him back to health, but they haven't addressed the obvious.
Yeah.
His death, him being Angel Lewis, nothing. So it's very weird and awkward, and him just like, I don't know why he'd be like, how's Scott? Like, that's his go-to small talk.
I don't think it was small talk. That was like petty talk.
Is it?
It seemed a little bit like what you'd be like if you saw a girl that you were dating or something and you were like, oh, how's this person? You know what I mean?
He killed so many people. Like I don't think he should be petty. I would feel like he'd be more remorseful and just kind of, I think
he's trying to be like what you're saying, but I think that just by asking that question, he already stopped being like that. You know what I mean? Like, to be remorseful and not, you wouldn't even ask that question. There was no reason for him to ask that question other than, like, to be like, it's kind of Facebook stalky, right? He's just kind of wondering what she's doing.
It would have been funnier if he's like, hey, how's Xander? She's like, why Xander? He's like, I don't know. Just
he looks good in that Speedo.
Yeah.
He's got better pecs than me.
Although it would have been super petty, like you're saying, if he would have asked, how's Cordelia doing? Just randomly.
Yeah. See, like, that would have been horrible. So when Buffy gets home, Joyce and Giles are waiting for her at the house. And essentially they're like, hey, you totally lied to us.
They've realized what she did, playing this like round robin thing where you say I'm at everyone else's house. They're disciplining her / yelling at her, but eating candy the whole time.
Yeah, so Joyce is eating this candy, and you know that something's up with the candy. It's such a point where they're talking about it like, oh, it's selling itself. I can't not have this candy. It's like crazy. It's taking over everything. And so she's eating it kind of like a fiend.
Yeah, and they're talking about responsibility.
But at the same time, they're acting a little bit funny.
Yeah,
not too
off.
much out of the ordinary, just a little off. But Buffy ends up making this big speech about how they're taking up too much of her time, and they're scheduling her 24 hours, and with 2 people doing that, they're scheduling her 48 hours, and she should be able to have a life.
Joyce calls Buffy immature, which is a strange thing to say as an adult to a child, because she literally is immature. She has not fully matured.
Yeah.
It's like an insult somebody with like 2 teenagers would throw at each other or something. You're immature. You know.
Yeah, it seems really ridiculous. So, yeah.
Out of place.
Joyce is being very, very immature. So, after giving that speech, Buffy runs upstairs, and we cut to the chocolate factory, right?
Willy Wonka's
chocolate factory. And we find out there that it's Ethan Raines, right? You just see this gigantic conveyor belt of chocolate coming out. Seems a little bit weird. I've never thought that's how chocolate would be boxed in any way. It doesn't seem very productive at all.
I guess in Sunnydale it is. It's like, hey, let's move all this shit into an abandoned warehouse or factory or whatever the fuck it is. I don't even.
If they're boxing things at the rate at which they were boxing stuff, I don't know how they got so many boxes full of chocolate. It would have taken months.
You know what I think is fucking stupid? Why they outsource Ethan Rain, who they're like, oh, this guy's good at this stuff. No, he's not.
No, he's not. He's failed
constantly
every single
failing.
time.
Yeah,
he's never done a good job at all.
He has a 0% success rate.
He has, absolutely no success at all doing everything he's ever tried. And I don't understand why they think he's going to be the right person for the job.
I guess I can say this. He is successful at the type of episode this is and what happens.
Global spells.
Exactly. He did that with the Halloween episode with the costumes. It's like that was successful. Maybe he can do some sort of spell or something.
Even if he wasn't
candy.
successful with what he was trying to do there, which I'm not really sure. I mean, all he does is pray to the Lord of Chaos, right? So he's just like, he just wants chaos to ensue. So technically he was successful.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure if he really wanted it to end with everybody killing each other or what, but he succeeded in creating chaos.
What a shitty motive.
Yeah, right? It seems like a Satanist. Like when somebody's a Satanist and you're like, I get what you're saying and the whole selfish thing and whatever, but this is fucking silly.
Yeah.
Fucking silly, dude. The way we find out it's Ethan is because he actually goes up to a guy who's about to eat a candy bar and stops him from eating the candy bar. And I felt that was kind of a dick move because, shit, you work at a shitty job and, like, you just like, oh, I'm kind of hungry. I'm going to steal a candy bar.
Well, the way he does it is weird.
It seems really weird, yeah.
It's like, oh, you wouldn't want that.
It's like, why not?
If he was actually the boss, he could have just been, oh, dude, you're on the clock. Or
Yeah.
you need to pay for that first.
Yeah. All of these things would have been better. So he makes it seem really, really creepy. And then you find out essentially that what this does is make you feel young, vibrant, and happy. So why wouldn't he want that?
Well, kind of. That's what we're led to believe early on, but it's clearly not. That's not what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah. You cut to Xander and Willow in class. You have Cordelia talking about Xander and how much she likes him and like calling time before Xander and after Xander. BX and AX. So then you cut to Xander, and he's playing footsies with Willow, which is really fucked up.
Judging by the music, it's supposed to feel like the sweet, innocent...
They now have, like, Xander cheating on Cordelia with Willow music.
Yeah,
like
in the same room.
Yeah,
Willow
like
music
every
is the
single
best.
time they hand something to each other, that music comes on now, which is pretty funny.
And I don't get how we're supposed to feel from this. Like, I think the music is definitely to soften what's going on, It's like, dude, your significant other, your girlfriend's
It's right
like,
there.
Yeah.
And your boyfriend's right there.
and I
you know?
think with the footsies, it's supposed to be innocent,
Yeah,
but it's
and
like, what the
innocent
fuck, man?
and like not so in your face kind of thing. So you find out the reason why they're in that classroom is just because they want to establish the fact that none of the teachers want to teach, and Giles didn't show up to class. Giles and Joyce are at Giles's house. Buffy goes there to check on him because he just didn't show up to school and it's not like him. And they're actually playing records and smoking cigarettes and hitting on each other the whole time, right?
Yeah, I did love that. Buffy walks in. Joyce is there. It's like, why is Joyce
What the
there?
hell
She's
are
like,
you here,
what
Mom?
the fuck?
Yeah. Are you guys fucking? So Joyce essentially tells Buffy, you were right. We are taking too much of your time. And here are the keys to my car. Just acts like she doesn't give a fucking, like, super cool mom, if you will. And Giles is like, yeah, do whatever the fuck you want. Like, I don't care. Leave me here with your mom.
But yeah, at this point, it's still like adult, mature Giles.
Yeah.
And then
Well, he's like adult, mature Giles that's having a midlife crisis. It's like they're both having like this crisis thing.
yeah,
going
but
on.
they still seem mature until Buffy leaves with the car.
Yeah.
And then both of their mannerisms change.
Completely change. And they're obviously acting around her. They're keeping up a facade of being responsible.
Giles's accent completely changes.
Yeah.
He now sounds like Spike.
Yeah.
Which, have we talked about Spike's accent at all? That he bases Spike's accent off of Anthony Head's real accent.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So Giles is his Giles accent
Is not what he sounds like.
He
normally.
actually sounds like Ripper.
Okay. That's cool. He says sodding a lot. I don't really understand what sodding means.
Isn't it just like slang for like fuck?
See, yeah, I get what it means, but I don't understand like what sodding is. Is that like the act of putting sod down?
Oh, I didn't even think
on
of
the
it
ground? Like, and then is that referring to shit? So to cover with shit is sodding.
I think you're overthinking it.
All right. Well, either way, they give her the keys. She runs away because she's like, "Sweet, I have car keys," and she's a horrible fucking driver. Right off the bat, you have her go to school. She meets up with Willow, and they figure out something's really weird. My parents are acting weird. All the teachers are acting weird, and they're all fighting over band candy. And they're like, "I think it might be the band candy." And so Snyder shows up right after that, and he's like, "Hey, what's up, guys?" And they're like, everybody's acting like a weirdo today, or whatever he's doing. He's like, everybody's a bunch of bitches.
Well, that in the Bronze, right?
Oh, yeah, they cut to the Browns. So they leave to the Bronze. The Browns is packed full of old people. So what I just said didn't happen there. It happened at the Bronze. And Dingoes Ate My Children are playing. And there's a bunch of teachers there partying their asses off. And they're really into the band. And that's got to be weird.
But it's so weird. We're talking about this candy that's supposed to make you young, but it's making you lose your inhibitions and kind of turning you into a piece of shit, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't turn you into the kid. Like, I
Turns
remember
you into a frat boy, essentially.
Yeah, I remember being a teenager, and I'm sure I had some of those elements, but for the most part, it's like, I kind of want to be left alone. I'm moody. I'm just going to read a book.
Yeah, and nobody was that kind of teenager in this.
No,
in this set.
they were
Everybody
like
was just
the
like,
worst
"Woo!"
type.
Yeah, horrible.
Taking off your shirt and stage diving, and
Yeah.
I like how the Dingo's lead singer's like, yeah, he's
Hey,
like
we
super.
finally made it.
Yeah,
It's the whole thing when like 5 people come to your show. It feels a lot better than playing to nobody. Or if you're playing in a room and absolutely nobody's paying attention, that's just as bad.
you know, I always considered it like if people weren't there paying attention, I was like, all right, guys, this is like practice. Let's play new shit since nobody's here.
Yeah, there you go. So Snyder goes up to Buffy and it's like, oh, everybody's here just acting like crazy, and I'm going to go with you guys because they figure out that it's all this candy, right? And then they ask Snyder, like, where did this candy come from, you asshole? And he's like, oh, well, I know where it's coming from. And they're like, all right, well, come with us and get in the car.
Well, no, they don't ask him. He just tags along.
Oh, he tags along, yeah.
Yeah,
but he tells them where it is, right?
They basically, they're going to leave the Bronze, and Snyder is, and this is great characterization, He's a typical tag-along. Nobody wants him. He's like, wait up, guys.
Yeah. He's a kid that totally uncool. Nobody really wants around, but he won't leave you alone.
He's a goober.
Yeah, he's a total goober. So he gets in the car, takes him to the factory district, where the factory is. And
which you may or may not be able to run to or drive. It could be like 20 miles away or like a block away. Who knows?
Who knows? You cut to Giles putting the moves on Joyce. He's like holding her, and they walk by a storefront, and she's like, "Oh, what a nice coat." And he's like, "You want it?" And she's like, "Yeah." And he like grabs a trash can and breaks a window and steals it for her.
Which is fucked up.
It's fucking crazy. Like, that's not... There's no way he was that bad of a kid, right?
Is this how they are? Or how they are without inhibitions? Or...
I think it's like how they were on their worst night. Like, it's like, this is how bad it got, maybe? But I don't think
so
that
essentially
it would have been like...
drunk teenagers.
Yeah,
right?
maybe drunk teenagers, or like teenagers with like all of their worst qualities amplified.
Okay.
Is what it felt like.
Yeah,
or maybe this is how they all were.
I hope not.
And just like Sunnydale's just full of awful people.
Maybe.
They just grew up.
Or
so
died.
he steals her the coat, and a cop comes up behind him, an old man cop, like a mall cop.
He's a senior citizen.
Yeah, like he's wearing one of those cheesy mall cop coats.
We always wonder where the police. Well, we get to see one, and he's like the oldest motherfucker in
man ever.
Sunnydale.
So Giles headbutts him.
Well, this was fucked up. Giles
Grabs
throws,
a gun.
He breaks the window, grabs the coat for Joyce, and then this cop is pointing a gun at him. What the fuck? Nothing about this scene is right. Just because somebody breaks a window and steals something does not give you the right to pull a gun on somebody, I think.
I agree with you, but I think that's a little naive because I think people get guns pulled on them for less than that.
Well, I'm
In
not
the
saying
real world.
it doesn't happen in the real world, but it's not what should happen.
I agree, yeah. In an ideal society, you shouldn't point a gun at somebody. You shouldn't threaten somebody's life over a coat.
I totally agree, and we can go down this political discussion. But I think, all right, so for the sake of this world and maybe in society, isn't it technically illegal depending on whether or not you feel threatened? Did this old man cop feel threatened enough to pull out his gun?
Well, I would say that 9 out of 10 judges would say yes.
Either way, we get an easy out because we see a little candy bar in his pocket.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, it's all the candy. It's not how he would really act. But I thought this scene was very fucked up.
It was all fucked up. I think what the most fucked up part of it was Giles headbutting him and then beating him half to death.
Which I didn't...
Like, beating him to a bad point.
I didn't really think much of it. You just see Giles like, man, Giles is a badass. And then you point it out. It's like, way to go, Giles. You fucked up an old man.
Like an 80-year-old dude.
It would have been cooler if the police officer was younger and he did that. But he just fucked up an old man.
Or if the
no
police
reason.
officer was a racist bigot or something like that. That would have been okay. But this guy seemed like a legit about to retire, just in it for the pension old man getting beat the shit out of for trying to stop a crime. Like, he's not even out of place here.
That was a poor decision on that cop, just to pull out a gun and then do nothing.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to pull out a gun, shoot it. So Giles beats the shit out of an 80-year-old, and then Joyce is like super hot and super wet for him. And decides to have sex with him on top of a cop car.
We're led to believe that.
Yeah, it's super.
Very
super,
heavily implied.
Yeah.
We don't have a scene
anything.
where there's like sick penetration.
Different episode.
Hey, I'll just throw this out there. That coat that he steals for is fucking terrible.
Yeah, it was
looking.
an ugly coat. Very, very horrible.
It makes her look like a bird.
Yeah. I think a lot of the coats on, like, anything that's super fuzzy makes you look like a bird.
It looked like there was feathers sticking out of that thing.
Yeah.
Terrible.
So on the way to the factory where they make the candy, Buffy gets hit by a guy trying to open a candy bar while driving. And then from there, you find out that more shit's going on. It's all crazy, and Snyder is being amazing. I think that Snyder was my favorite part of this episode. When it really comes down to it, like his inclusion into the Scoobies, I thought that was fun.
I thought that was awesome. I loved Snyder, but I equally liked Ripper.
Yeah.
And seeing him, like, because they always mention, like, how badass he was. We actually get to see it this time. Seeing Joyce was interesting, too. Like, it's like, oh, no wonder you turned into kind of a shitty mother. You're kind of a shitty teenager.
Yeah. So they're left without a car, but it's okay because everything in Sunnydale is like 4 blocks away. So they just walk to the factory.
I love the fact that the guy who hit him, like, what did he say? It was just like, gotta go, or he just runs off.
Hits him and just like takes off. Hit and run.
Awesome.
And so they get to the factory, and there's a guy probably outside working for $7 an hour or something like that. And Buffy just goes up to him and just beats the living fuck out of him for passing out candy.
I hope he was in on everything.
There's no way. I mean, if the fact is that if you steal a candy bar, you get in trouble, and you're not like that. They already established that all the workers are not in on the bad stuff.
Maybe they outsourced some bouncers. But yeah, it definitely looks like she beat the shit out of some dude just doing his job.
Random guy that just like went to work that day.
But he tries to fight her, so
wouldn't you try to fight somebody who just comes up to you and starts punching you?
like if a little girl started like hitting me, I'd be,
if it hurt, yeah,
I would be like, what the fuck? I'd probably just run away or let her. I don't. I mean, what am I going to hit like a 17-year-old blonde girl because she starts hitting me?
I would.
Oh,
I would deck her, dude.
Okay.
Or at least like choke hold her till she fell asleep, and then be like, "Hey, wake up! What the fuck's wrong with
I'm
you?"
just doing my job.
I'm getting paid like in heroin to pass out candy bars right now, and you're beating me up. All right, so she beats the crap out of that guy. They get inside and see douchebag Ethan. Essentially, ta-da! The bad guy is revealed, and
They don't seem that surprised.
no.
They're just like, oh, okay.
Oh, it's Ethan. And cut to him running away. They start chasing him, and then we cut to Cordelia. And we have another scene where Xander and Cordelia and Willow are all together. And Cordelia is talking about what the effect was on her parents. And I thought that was awesome. Her mom, like, apparently started trying to wear her clothes.
All her spandex.
And her dad just locked himself in the bathroom and started
masturbating furiously.
Until he chafed himself. So
very little Cordelia in this episode, but like those lines.
The perfect amount of Cordelia.
Yeah.
So Xander passes Willow a book, and we get that music again.
Choking here.
Yeah. He's like,
the Willow music.
Here you go. It's the Willow and Xander boning music.
It's the let's make cheating okay music.
Yeah. So they're just setting all the cheating up for the eventual actual cheating.
Yeah, we're supposed to be, oh, this is all just innocent. But it's not. You don't like...
No, it's going to end up in something very not innocent.
I don't pass stuff to you like that, gently caress your hand.
In my head, I play that music every time you pass me anything. Like, you just passed me a pen, and it was like... Da, 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 da,
my hand lingered on yours for just a little too long.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome.
I have been working on my pecs for you.
Thank you. I thought they were gross before, so thanks. So Ethan gets caught.
This relationship's not going to go anywhere with comments like that, buddy.
Just saying, you've really like let yourself go since we've gotten together. So Ethan gets caught by Buffy, and he tells them essentially what's going on. It's all
first he runs through that fucking candy box maze that somebody
put up a maze, made a maze out of the boxes of candy they had.
This warehouse was empty, clearly, when they moved in. Moved in within the week, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Loaded tons of boxes of candy, filled this warehouse, and made a maze.
Yeah. And are like doling out the candy one by one guy. Like one guy's handing out candy. That's just, the distribution is awful here.
You know, aside from getting your ass kicked by Buffy, I'd kind of like to work there. It seems like,
It seemed fine. It seemed like everything
there's no write-ups. You can hide in the center of the maze.
At one point, Trick does come up and randomly kill somebody just to keep everybody else in check on stealing. But other than that, it's like one person got fired.
Yes, but it's not like that sucks.
Yes,
for that dude who
that
died.
Guy had a bad day.
But I feel like some bosses may be worse and just put you down and insult you. He means business. Trick never put any of his employees down.
No, he was there for them.
Stand up dude.
Stand up guy.
I feel like if I had an issue, I could go to Trick and talk to him about another coworker. And he might just kill him.
Kill him.
Or me.
That would be amazing.
It's a toss-up.
I don't know if that would be amazing. Don't kill your coworkers.
You're just talking about beating up 17-year-old girls.
Only if they attacked me first, man.
And they hit hard, okay.
Yeah, if they hit hard and attacked me, I would put them in a chokehold.
Okay. All right.
So I just randomly go to the mall and just like drop kick.
You're fine with that, and I'm fine with my coworkers dying. Okay.
All right. So you find out that while all the adults are acting like asshole children, vampires are stealing all the babies from hospitals so they can feed them to a gigantic monster that the mayor owes a tribute to for being elected mayor. So he made a deal with a bunch of devils to become the mayor of Sunnydale.
Was it to be mayor, or was it just to be more powerful?
Probably to be more powerful.
And
to have more influence.
Should I say, I'll just say a spoiler. I mean, it's a snake monster that he's giving a tribute to, so he can become a snake monster?
That's what I was going to ask you. It's like, is that the same kind of demon that he wants to eventually become? Is it maybe, another person that turned into a demon?
So we're assuming that this tribute's for mayor or political gain. It could be, but to me, with that snake correlation, that's what he wants to become, right?
He just wants to be a snake that swims in shit in the sewer. Imagine that. The snake was essentially around the same size as a pipe, so you can essentially assume that behind the snake is just a buildup of shit and piss that's just kind of pushing him through the sewer main.
They should have more scenes where people try to flush the toilets in Sunnydale, and it's like, God damn it, low flow again.
That snake must be down there again. So you get more you get more snippets of Snyder trying to hook up with Joyce. Like he's just really trying to impress her, and you kind of get an into maybe what he was like and why he's such a dick now because he was rejected so much.
But he's overreaching. They just all right. So they didn't just meet, but technically they did as their teenage selves. Mm-hmm. And he's sitting awfully close to her. Somebody who has been basically mean to Joyce. It's almost like they don't remember any of their adult lives.
Yeah.
Right? That's what happens?
It's weird because it feels foggy on both sides, right? When they revert back at the end of this episode, they also don't really remember what they did when they were under the spell. So it's kind of weird. Either way, I kind of like that because they've also made reference to the fact that Snyder is probably a dick to Buffy because she reminds him of somebody. You think you even say that?
Yeah, and he was like a loser in high school.
Yeah, so he is essentially being portrayed as such.
We'll just say drunk teenagers because I think the drunk analogy, and they mentioned that earlier, works with the whole foggy memory thing.
Yeah.
Like you don't really know what's happening before or after. Even Buffy asked Joyce, do you know who I am? She's like, of course. So they know certain things. Giles knows certain things about... did you know about the snake monster or something?
He knew Latin still.
Yeah.
So essentially they're like, hey, well, and he's like, they say a phrase and it's in Latin and he kind of just racks his brain and realizes, oh, wait, I know Latin. So he actually translates all the stuff about the babies being given to the mayor as tribute, and they find out that another word meant sewer, and so they know that the monster is going to be in the sewer. They go to the sewer, and they find the babies right away. They kill all of the vampires in kind of a a rush job. It felt really, really fast. It wasn't a very good fight scene. It didn't I don't remember any cool parts of the fight scene. It was just like fast cuts of fighting.
Yeah.
You don't even really see that many people die in it.
There's a good amount of people who died.
Yeah.
But it was just so fast.
Uh-huh.
They have Giles. The most memorable part is really Giles, instead of letting Buffy do what she's good at, try and attack a vampire.
Yeah, so Trick goes like, hey, I've heard a lot about you, so I'm going to take you on myself. Something I normally wouldn't do, being a modern vampire. So he's like, I'm going to take you on myself. And Giles jumps in front of her and punches Trick in the face and gets thrown into the baby pool. The pool that had all the babies in it.
The shit pool they were going to put all the babies in.
The shit baby pool. So those babies are fine, except they all now have horrible skin diseases or something.
Well, they didn't get set in there.
No, not yet. Yeah. So they sneak all the babies out, and the snake monster shows up. The snake monster is just a gigantic snake.
Yes.
Buffy grabs a gas line, a gas pipe, breaks it, and uses a tiki torch that they had there. Because, tiki torches are used in all nefarious activities nowadays. And uses that to light the snake on fire.
Yeah.
And he CGI dies to death.
And we're calling it a snake monster. It's not even really a monster. It's just a big snake.
It's a big
huge
snake. Like a huge fucking snake.
There's nothing monster-like about it.
No.
I know they're limited with CGI, but there is a lack of imagination going on with this fucking snake.
Yeah. Essentially, it feels like they hired some guy that really doesn't give a fuck. He's just phoning it in. He's like, what do you want? A demon. Okay, what kind of demon? A snake demon. And he just enlarged a snake.
It's like what kind of fuck it. This project's due tomorrow.
He's like, here you go, guys. You guys aren't paying me that much. So the babies are saved. Snake monster is dead. Everything's resolved. And you cut back to school. And everything's normal again. You see Snyder. Xander yells out, hey, Snyder. You went pretty wild last night. You feeling okay? And Snyder's a complete asshole, so he's back to normal. Yeah. And doesn't
Chocolate's worn off. The drunk effect has worn off.
Mm-hmm. And now they're all just kind of dealing in the consequences of acting like a drunk teenager, right? Like, what did I do last night? Oh, you did the following, and you made an ass of yourself. Snyder essentially tells them, hey, well, what are you guys doing? And I have a task for you, but says it way more mean than that. And you see that there's spray paint on the lockers that says "Kiss Rocks," and Willow's like, "Why would anybody want to kiss a rock?"
Oh, I get it.
Yeah, I get it too.
It's like
a ridiculous joke.
Kind of a weak joke.
Yeah. So you find out that they're going to clean all that stuff, and you get the ending scene, which is a conversation between Buffy and Giles walking out of the school. She talks to him about what happened and how it's all resolved, and it's interrupted by Joyce picking her up. So Buffy sees Joyce and is like, hi, Mom, and gets in the car, and Joyce looks at Giles, and she's like, so, and you could tell that they're like both like, should we talk about this? And they just say, no. And they just like kind of say goodbye and walk away from each other immediately.
And Buffy has that line where she's like, it's a good thing I stopped you before anything happened.
Yeah.
And they look at each other and it's like, fuck.
Something did happen.
And it's basically that moment. It's a scene where somebody had a drunken hookup and they're like, we kind of regret it. Mm-hmm. Let's not talk about it. Let's move on.
Yep. We have that bit at the end we didn't talk about where the mayor confronts Trick about not, I guess, pulling off what he wanted him to pull off. And Trick is like, it's no big deal. At least I got that campaign promise off your hands. And the mayor kind of goes, yeah, you did. Don't ever do that again.
Yeah, Trick's trying to be typical charming Trick.
Yeah.
His plan didn't go well. He's like, well, it's a good thing. And then the mayor, typical politician, be like, yeah, don't let that happen again.
A lot of spin in that room.
Yeah.
It was good. So what do you think about this episode?
I loved the episode. I thought that there was tons of humor. Mm-hmm. Even the elements that I didn't like were so minimal because it was such a great episode.
Yeah.
CGI Snake was weak. The fight scene was kind of weak. But I liked seeing all these characters in a new light as, we'll say, a drunken
characterization-wise,
teenager.
they went miles with this episode. You now understand a lot more about each character. You have a lot more fun with Snyder, for example. Like, he's just kind of a piece of shit before this, but now that you see him as a teenager, you kind of feel bad for him, and also you kind of like him more because he was silly and goofy.
Yeah, I liked all three, even including Joyce. I liked the characterization. Joyce was kind of a complete bitch. I found her annoying, but I still liked that.
Yeah. She's also, everybody is, I mean, well, no, I should just say Giles and Joyce are kind of sluts.
Yeah.
They're both slutty people. Like, kind of just jumped right into having sex the whole time.
But like we said, maybe that's the whole drunken aspect of this candy bar effect. Maybe they wouldn't do that as teenagers normally, but a drunken teenager...
I don't know, man. I think that's why they call him Ripper.
Yeah. Poor Joyce's vagina.
Oh, wow.
So this episode was a lot about responsibility.
Yeah.
You talked about... It's weird how everything just... It's a Buffy episode, so everything's going to go back to normal. What happened to the person who was supposed to watch all these babies, and these babies just disappear?
Oh, that they cleared that up when they went to the hospital, and they're like, "Do the nurses know what happened?" And they said only one nurse was on staff for the entire ward.
So nobody knew. It's no harm, no foul.
Anything happen?
Okay, so I guess that's good. That was my concern. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah. So I mean, you would assume that they all ate the candy and stopped caring about their jobs.
Everybody in the entire town, city.
That was the whole reason of doing it, so they could get the babies and nobody would care.
There must have been way more fucked up repercussions. Like, I would have loved to see maybe another episode. Well, maybe it's too much if you do another episode like that right after. But can you imagine everything else that's going on in the city? How many other vampires are just going to town and killing people?
Of The Purge, that movie The Purge, where the first movie is just like in their house and you're just like, oh, I want to see what's happening all over the city because it seems crazy. And they're showing you like news clips and like the possibilities are endless. And then the second movie came on and you're like, oh, that's what they're doing?
You're like, oh, it's not so endless as I imagined it.
Or maybe the imaginations of the people who are making this movie aren't so endless.
I guess we don't. I can imagine tons of other vampires just going to town and killing. There must have been a lot more deaths.
I would like to see what, like a couple of other people. I guess Spike's not in town right now. Yeah, but it would have been cool. At the same time, we did hit most of the main points of the town. We went to the factory district, went to the Bronze, went to the school.
Evil Party Mansion.
The neighborhood in the Party Mansion Cemetery.
We didn't get to the Krispy Kreme.
We didn't get to the Krispy Kreme. We didn't get to the beach. The beach might have been crazy.
Or the woods.
Or the woods, yeah. Or the big mansion, the bad guy mansion.
The regular
Yeah.
evil mansion.
Mm-hmm. Or the mall.
Yeah.
These are all places that we didn't get to see. That would have been cool.
Okay.
Part two would be like Dawn of the Dead, like the mall one.
We should just naming locations now. Yeah. Can't wait for UC Sunnydale. Oh, okay. Jeez. So, yeah, fuck. I mean, anything else you want to talk about this episode?
No, I really liked it, but there's not really much else to say, I feel like. I think it was a good episode. They had, like, strong characterization.
Great humor.
Going forward, there's a lot of references made towards this episode that I look forward to. Yeah, it was funny as hell.
It doesn't really move the plot along too much. We get slightly more of Trick and the Mayor. It doesn't do a whole lot, but it's a great episode. It's just like the Halloween one, done in a different way, but with more characterization. Instead of seeing all the Scoobies have this happen to them, it's the adults, which is nice. It didn't feel like a repeat or like, oh, they're just doing the same thing over again. Even though they are, it felt fresh, and I liked it. But it didn't really do a whole lot for the season.
I agree.
But still loved it. I'm surprised no Snyder impressions.
Yeah, he was doing He was like doing an impression of himself, and he wasn't being a dick this episode.
The little kid. Well, he was.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like there's that sound.
I guess I could have been just like, you bitches, you fucking bitches. Here's some candy. Sell it for the band. They need new trumpets.
I guess I'm forcing it out of you. I can't force it out of you, like you said.
No,
It's just
yeah.
It's gonna come. It's gonna come.
It's gonna come or it's not. Yeah, that's all.
Yeah.
How many deaths? I actually went into this episode thinking there were no deaths.
There's a good amount of deaths.
Yeah.
Buffy was responsible for 4 in total, 3 vampire deaths, 1 at the graveyard in the beginning, 2 in the sewer, and then she killed the snake monster. The snake monster also killed a vampire, and Trick killed a human. So in total, I'm counting 6. 6 deaths. It's pretty death-heavy episode, actually.
So what's the next episode, Jeff?
Revelations. I don't remember this one. So
remember how we were saying we thought Wesley was in on this episode?
Yes.
Last episode? No, it's Revelations.
Okay. I think in my mind I've combined 3 episodes where Wesley comes in, Band Candy, and Spike. But that's way too much.
Yeah, it's too much. And I think the one after Revelations is the one where Spike comes in. So we just kind of all put that in one episode.
Push them all together.
Yeah.
Do you remember liking this episode?
It's the introduction to Wesley. It's the episode where... Actually, I don't know if he's introduced in this episode, but we get a fake watcher. I don't remember liking this episode, but I do remember the episode, and that's a good thing. Remember that glove? Lady Watcher puts it on.
So, okay, I get it.
And then, like, she's like, I have the power!
Yeah, the female Watcher.
Yeah.
It's not really... She's not really Watcher.
She's, like, totally a bitch to everybody.
So then Wesley isn't in this one.
I think he comes in at the very end, no?
I fucking don't remember.
That or the next episode. Yeah. But either way, we get a new Watcher for Faith, is where my mentality was. So, yeah, Wesley might not be in this episode.
I have a feeling, based on what we said earlier, if I don't really remember what happens in the episode, it might not be a very good episode.
Yeah, I don't think this is going to be one we particularly love.
Shit.
But I do remember it being an episode.
Is Angel revealed in this one as still alive? Is that what happens?
I think so, because I think he saves the day.
Okay.
I think at the end, he's the one that comes and takes the glove off her hand. Do they cut off her arm?
We don't remember.
I don't remember.
This.
In my head, it's kind of cool. It's turning cooler. So, how are you feeling?
I'm good.
Okay.
How are you?
I'm 5x5, B.
What is that like? Was that a free period or with detention or like why?
Study hall.
Study hall. That's
Study
okay,
hall. So it's just like an hour where you do your homework at school.
Okay.
Head start on your homework class.
I never had that.
I was given the option to have it instead of a free period, and I chose a free period. What do you mean? You mean study or just do whatever the fuck I want? I'll do whatever the fuck I want.
So,
Thank you very much.
Free period. You just like did you have to go?
You get to leave. I had a long lunch my senior year. I should have taken algebra 2, but I found out you don't have to take that to graduate. So I was like, why the fuck am I going to take that?
Or pre-cal. You must have taken algebra 2.
No.
You didn't?
No, you don't have to take algebra 2. You don't have to. They say it's highly recommended if you want to go to college. But I went to college and I took algebra 2 in college.
You only have to take 2 classes.
3.
So algebra, geometry.
Algebra, geometry, and...
Must have been algebra 2, right?
No, it wasn't algebra 2.
Because I took 4. This is way off base. But I remember taking geometry, Algebra 2, and Pre-Cal. Maybe I only took 3.
I didn't take Algebra 2 and I didn't take Pre-Cal. I remember not taking those, man. I think you only have to take 2. You only need 6 credit hours in math to pass.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyway, who cares?
It probably would have been good for you to take that.
I probably should have taken it. I remember getting to college and being in the remedial class and be like, why am I here? So,
I don't know if you even want to get into this now or later at all, but you've heard everything that's going on with Joss Whedon, right?
oh yeah, I don't really want to get into that.
Okay.
I don't really care. I mean, that's his personal life. So I feel like, yeah, who cares? Of course he fucked somebody.
I would say...
Wouldn't you fuck somebody? I'm sorry, but Joss Whedon's kind of an ugly guy. He's like ugly and fat, like, and what a super hot chick came up to him, I'd be like, yeah, he's gonna fuck her.
And I would say just one thing about that, like just because somebody makes great art, great story, whatever, doesn't necessarily mean they're the best person.
Yeah, actually, to the contrary, most of them are pieces of shit.
So...
Yeah, I mean, if you look at any respected artist in the last 100 years, they're all fucking freaks. You know? Van Gogh cut off his ear. What's the guy's name? Frida Kahlo's Diego Rivera. He was a piece of shit, right?
I don't know.
Well, I mean, cheated on her a whole bunch. Anyway, who cares? Not our business.